Me ask you something. Isn't it kind of strange that you can reach more people right now than any human in history, but you've probably never felt more alone than when you're just staring at a screen waiting for a reply that never comes? Yeah, let's get into why that is.
And I mean, let's be real. We are completely, totally hyper-connected. Our phones are these little buzzing hives of social activity. We have this constant river of potential connection flowing right through our pockets. We're never really out of reach, are we?
And yet, because of all that connection, silence has gotten so much louder. It's this digital quiet that feels so personal, so targeted. It can send your mind into a complete tailspin. And if you've ever felt that little sting, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
You know how it starts? It's always so simple. You send a message, a text, a DM, whatever. And it's not just data, right? It's a little piece of you. It's a bid for connection, a funny thought you had, a question you needed an answer to. And for just a second, there's that little flicker of hope.
And then the clock starts. That little delivered checkmark just sits there mocking you. Minutes start to feel like hours. Maybe those hours turn into days. And the empty space where a reply should be just gets bigger and louder and heavier. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because your brain absolutely hates a vacuum. It can't stand not knowing. So in the total absence of information, it doesn't just sit there and wait patiently. Oh no, it panics. And it starts to write its own script for what all this silence really means. So here's the most important thing to get right now. That awful feeling? That's not you being dramatic or overthinking things. It is a deep, primal, biological alarm system that is just screaming inside your head. Let's break down why. Think about it. For literally thousands of years, our entire survival hinged on being part of the tribe. Ostracism, being ignored or kicked out, wasn't just hurtful. It meant no food, no protection, no help. It was, and I mean this literally, a death sentence. And your brain, it's still running that ancient software. And this is where it gets absolutely wild. Neuroscientists have discovered that the emotional pain of being ignored, it lights up the exact same parts of the brain as physical pain. So that ache in your chest, you are not imagining it. It is real.
Let that sink in for a second. To your brain, the sting of rejection feels a lot like breaking an arm. The pain of being ghosted is processed like a physical burn. Your brain barely knows the difference between a social injury and a physical one. Pain is just pain.
Okay, now let's talk brain chemistry. When you send that text, your brain is already getting ready for a nice little hit of dopamine, the feel-good reward chemical. You're waiting for that satisfying little ping from your phone. But when that ping never shows up, you don't just go back to zero. You actually plunge into a dopamine deficit. And that feels an awful lot like anxiety.
And that deficit, that craving, is what creates that compulsive loop. Your brain is desperate for its reward, so it pushes you to check your phone again and again and again. Each time you check, it's a little gamble, hoping to close that loop. But every time you come up empty, the anxiety just digs in deeper.
But, the biology is really only half the story. The other, arguably more important half is about the narrative your mind spins to explain that pain. This is where we really start to do the most damage to ourselves.
This is just a fundamental truth about how we're wired. We are storytelling animals. We need things to make sense. We need a cause and an effect. So when someone's silence gives us no reason, our brain will invent one on the spot. And here's the kicker. The story it invents is almost never, oh, they're probably just swamped at work or their phone must have died. No way. The default story is a horror story. And guess who the villain is? You. It's always a story about your own inadequacy.
Just be honest with yourself for a second. Have you ever scrolled back through the chat, analyzing your every word, searching for the mistake you must have made? Have you ever convinced yourself you were too weird or too boring or just too much, all based on literally nothing? Just silence? Okay, I'm about to say something that might feel a little strange at first. What if that gut punch feeling, that ache of being ignored, has almost nothing to do with what's actually going on? What if it has nothing to do with them, what they're thinking, what they're doing? What if this whole painful experience was never actually about them at all?
This brings us to the absolute heart of it. This connects the biological pain to those negative stories we tell ourselves. I like to call it the broken mirror effect. See, we think their silence is some kind of weapon they're pointing at us, a tool they're using to hurt us, but it's not. For you, the person feeling it, their silence is a broken mirror.
And this right here is the aha moment. A mirror doesn't create an image, does it? It only reflects what's already standing in front of it. Their silence creates this perfect, blank surface that reflects your deepest, most hidden fears about yourself right back at you.
So the pain isn't them calling you boring. The pain is the silence forcing you to confront that little voice in your head that was already afraid you might be boring. It forces you to face that secret fear that maybe you're unlikable, or not good enough, or that you always say the wrong thing. Their silence is just the trigger. The bullet was already there inside you.
So if we can accept that, wow, it changes everything. It pulls us out of this place of feeling powerless and puts us in a position of incredible self-awareness. It means we can actually reclaim the narrative. And all of a sudden, the goal isn't about figuring out how to get them to text back. That's a game you can't win. The real work, the important work, is to heal your relationship with yourself so that when you look into the mirror of someone's silence, there's nothing there that can hurt you anymore.
And I'll just leave you with this one thought. What if you could build a sense of self-worth that's so solid, so real, that it doesn't even crack when someone else goes quiet? What if the real power isn't in getting a reply, but in finding your own peace in the silence?